What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of GRID Encore. I'm Ben Schneider, joined by Casey Campbell, and returning this week, Brandon Crossland. Brandon, it's good to see you again. How are you doing?
It's good to see you and Casey too. It's I know I've been in and out this 2023 season, but I can tell you I'm here permanently now, unless something terrible goes wrong.
I know you've been busy with basketball season, of course. March Madness just about to get started there on the college side of things. Casey, how about you? How's it going for you?
It's going all right. Can't complain.
Sounds good. So we're here to talk about the ARCA and Xfinity races at Phoenix this weekend. But before we get into ARCA and Xfinity, Casey, I know you and I were talking about this a little bit backstage. I know there's been a lot of discussion here. We can just kind of have a quick open segment since we have a bit of a shorter show tonight. I know that people have very mixed opinions on the racing that we see at Phoenix nowadays, with the restarts in particular kind of being comical in many respects, seeing how the cars fan out 7 or 8 wide with the dog leg and seeing which drivers choose to cut the course, which drivers choose not to cut the course. You know, the risk of damaging your car's front end if you do it too often. It's caused quite a bit of a stir and debate of people longing for the old days of the old Phoenix International Raceway, or those that like the chaos and unpredictability that the restarts bring. So, Casey, since we were talking about this before Brandon logged on just a few minutes before the show here, I guess I'll start with you. Do you like the racing that we have at Phoenix now? Did you like what we saw in all or some or none of the 3 races we saw this weekend? What do you think should be done with Phoenix Raceway?
I mean, it's all right. I mean, you know, I really don't know. It's like that's above my pay grade or something. So I'm not gonna say much.
Okay, well, Phoenix.
Simple enough. We can let Brandon take it over then.
Yeah, Phoenix really it's never really been one of my favorite tracks, even before the dog leg, things like that. Just it kind of was a place that was, I believe it was purpose built for open wheel, wasn't it? And then we first got our first race there, I think 87 or 88, the Checker 500, 1988. And so we've been doing this ever since. And then the ISM Raceway deal and all that. And then after that, they decided they wanted to move the grandstands over to the dog leg. And then they wanted to take and then one before that, they wanted to take the grass out and make it just the contraption it is today, and kind of flip it on its head. I mean, it still provides some good racing here or there, but there's just been some things about Phoenix Raceway that have been kind of meh over the years, especially since, in my opinion, taking away the grass and putting the grandstand on the other end, where instead of being in a spot where you can see the track kind of relatively close to you, you're on the very end, and then spotters are saying that they're having a hard time the way it is now, seeing the other end of the track, because it's just on the complete other side and some distance away. Casey, I can see your reactions. I know you didn't want to comment too much on it, but I'm hoping I'm going to feed you something that will warrant a response.
I don't know. I mean, I just don't know, because it's like it just is. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know that fans have mixed feelings about it, but I feel like the track limits debate. We go through this at Watkins Glen, obviously, with they paved over all the gravel traps and some of the grass there as well. I think from an aesthetics perspective, it looks kind of ridiculous, especially if you're trying to introduce, like, say, a Formula One fan to NASCAR, and how strictly they take track limits over there, and they see something like a restart at Phoenix. I mean, what are they going to say to that? So, I think that, Brandon, I think you pointed this out before we came on the air. We could just bring the grass back to the dog leg, and that would make it, very easy. Obviously you don't cut it, but I think that there's a concern that I have had, with this track being the finale for the last however many years it's been. I guess this will be the 4th year this season. We saw it with Kevin Harvick in the Cup race yesterday. A driver can go out, and I guess this is true at any track. You can just ask Carl Edwards about that at Homestead in 2016. But Kevin Harvick probably should have won the race, but a late caution comes out, and then obviously you had the factor of pit strategy too. But Something we saw in the ARCA race with Williams Sawalch getting turned on one of the final restarts there. I feel like, it leads to the possibility of a comedy of errors, when you have, as soon as the drivers cross the start finish line, they're all making a hard left turn, almost all of them, because on the restart, especially when you're not up to speed, it's much quicker to just cut the course. And, again, it's more of an aesthetics thing to me. I personally don't like it too much. And I think it's, a lot of ways, similar to what the discussion's been surrounding Texas over the last several years. Maybe not as extreme an example as that, because I do think we have seen from time to time some good finishes and some good racing at Phoenix since they've reconfigured it and tweaked it a couple of times. But, I didn't really see what was broken with the original Phoenix Raceway, and, to kind of try to tweak it and modernize it, it kind of leads to, especially on the restarts, something that I don't think is too aesthetically pleasing to the fans watching it. But I don't know if you guys want to bounce off of that at all.
Yeah, we've been fortunate the past few years. For one thing, that's concerned me is the pit exit wall being where it's positioned for whenever they fan out 4 wide, 5 wide on the dog leg. There's some awful close calls to that wall that's just jutting out there at pit exit, and I'm really concerned about that. But I'm thankful that drivers have kept level heads and steered clear of that, even when they do go 4 and 5 wide.
Yeah, well, it certainly creates a lot of chaos, particularly when you get down to green light checkers or overtime, and everybody's going for every position possible. And we saw that a little bit in the ARCA race, and I suppose that'll be a nice segue. We can lead into that. So, Brandon, we'll see you in just a little bit when we recap Xfinity. But of course, our ARCA expert Casey Campbell's going to help us recap what was a thrilling finish to the ARCA Menards Series. So I guess we'll lead right into that right now. I'll pull the results up for you. Thrilling finish, like I mentioned. Tyler Reif ended up taking the win. Now, the young Joe Gibbs Racing driver, William Sawalch, you see him down there in 13th. He appeared to be on track to pick up right where Ty Gibbs and Sammy Smith left off in that 18 car. However, Sawalch got spun on a late race restart. That set up a battle between Tyler Reif and Landon Lewis, who you see ended up second. Now, Reif also made a surprise recovery drive back up through the field after a spin early on in the race, but he spun his tires on the last restart, allowing Lewis to drive away. But despite this, Reif was able to gather it back up, track down Lewis, and make a last lap pass to take the win in his first ARCA National and third ARCA West start overall. So, Casey, how impressive was Tyler Reif's drive back to the front of the field to take the win, especially considering his youthful age and lack of experience?
Well, he's in a good car. I believe that is an old DGR ARCA car. So you knew that they were going to be fast, but Tyler Reif was really up there. He's only 15 years old, and he's been really impressive so far. Just a lot of things happened in that race too. A lot of things that I just rewatched it. It was like still some of the things that, because you obviously thought that, the 18 or the 20 or something like that, but this is a good team. This is a team that's going to go full time. Chris Loudon owns this team, so you kind of saw him in ARCA West this year, and this is one of the teams that's going to run both the East and the West schedules. As you look at the rest of the field, it was really impressive to see. Obviously, his brother Tanner is going to be tough to beat as well. But is Tyler the favorite for the ARCA West Championship? I think he might be. It'll be interesting to see what Tanner and also Sean Hingrani have in that West Championship, and also be interesting to see what goes on in the East, because obviously I think that 18 is just strong.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter who's been driving it last few years. The 18, whether it was under the KBM banner or the Gibbs banner, seemed to be virtually unbeatable throughout much of the year. So, certainly going to be a difficult fight for everybody else in those fields. But as we saw, it's not impossible. William Sawalch had a fast car, certainly could have won the race, but encountered some trouble there towards the end and ended up getting shuffled back a little bit. Now, if we pull the results back up for you, you'll see a familiar name in sixth place. We've been talking about him quite a bit here. Frankie Muniz had another great run as he's just beginning his ARCA career here. What could kind of be considered, I guess, a homecoming for the actor-turned race car driver. He comes home in sixth place, also recovering from an early spin. There was a lot of action and early cautions early on in this race, but Muniz had no damage, was able to climb back up through the field he recovered to a 6th place finish, knocking on the door of the top 5 and only his 2nd ever ARCA start. So Casey, you look at Frankie's name up there, knocking on the door of a top 5 so early in his career. Between that and his 11th place run at Daytona, is he proving the doubters wrong and showing just how seriously he's taking this new racing career he's trying to build up?
Again, another team with another good car. I mean, obviously they've that 30 team is strong this year, and they've upgraded their equipment. Yep, thanks for that. So he's currently 2nd in points. Greg Van Elst is 1st in points. Tony Constantino was up there. So yeah, a lot of these guys. As I've told you before, the field is getting better. Overall, I think you might see more surprise winners as time goes along. We could potentially see one at Talladega. So do I think Jesse Love will be back in that conversation? Yes. But there's going to be some tracks that are coming up, like Talladega, Kansas, Charlotte, places that he's not been before. And who knows? I mean, obviously the 2 incidents were none of his own doing. But well, we'll just have to see once Talladega rolls around. We got a big break, Ben, until the next main ARCA race, which is Talladega. So it's going to be quite interesting there. But obviously, ARCA is going to be pretty busy with ARCA East coming up. No ARCA race this week, but next week, ARCA East kicks off their season at 5 Flags. Expecting a pretty big car count there. I'll break all that down next week if we have some. Actually, we got a jam-packed show next week. So we'll talk about that once we get to the ARCA East stuff, and then ARCA West will have the next week. They'll be at Irwindale on April 1st. So yeah, so 2 races, and then we'll get to Talladega in a few weeks.
Yeah, well, thank you for reminding me. We've got a F2 coming back in Saudi Arabia, and then obviously a busy weekend on the NASCAR side of things at Atlanta. So we'll certainly have a little bit more of a packed show than we've got tonight, and I'm sure Josh Burks will be back with us to recap Formula 2. But yeah, ARCA's really staggered, much more towards the summer months, in terms of the schedule. Obviously, Talladega being the 3rd race of the year when you think of, the National Series, how many races, Cup and Xfinity run before we get to Talladega. So a little bit of a break for the main ARCA series, but we'll have certainly some more racing to cover in some other series, and of course East and West in the meantime.
So here's another thing. I know that this was this broadcast was on like FS2 for this race because there was so much programming on. But yeah, it was good to see. A lot of people got to see because originally this was a MAV race, and I know that there was so much programming on, and so it was kind of good to see it kind of fit in. It kind of ran over like the baseball classic there a little bit, but yeah, it was good.
Yeah, well, Casey, I know you've been really driving that point home. Ever since that deal was announced, how huge it is for ARCA to have every race on the Fox Sports family networks this year. So
yeah, it's going to be quite interesting when we go to Talladega. We should have a pretty good field for Talladega. From what I'm hearing down the pipeline, there's going to be some more entries. As you guys talked to Mandy Chick, I know that that's her next race. Right. I believe that Steve Lewis might be heading there. You could definitely see, some more entries outside of the full-time rides that are out there as well. But yeah, it's going to be definitely for sure. And I think we still have one more thing to talk about from this race.
Yeah, sure. We'll get to that in just a second. But first, I want to say hi to my Life on the Grid co-host, Kobe Lambeth, here in the chat room, of course, from Grid Tonight and the podium finish as well. Very impressed with Frankie Muniz early on. Imagine what he can do once he gets more experience. Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of hard to believe Frankie's only got 2 races under his belt, and he's already knocking on the door of a top 5 in the ARCA Menards Series. So, it just goes along with the theme. I agree with you, Casey. I think Frankie's, on track to really surprise a lot of people. I've been saying that ever since this deal was announced. I think he's got more racing experience than a lot of, more casual fans might realize, and he's taking this very seriously. So it's good to see him having some good results early on here.
And he came back from, because I remember he was involved in an incident on lap 3, I think it was. So right. He came back and finished top 10. Don't get me wrong. It was a crazy, crazy race. Lots of cautions, lots of interesting things happen. So yeah, it was a good run for a lot of good guys. If you could pull the graphic up again, I like to give my shout outs out here. Landon Lewis in 2nd, Bradley Erickson running 3rd. I know he's going to run for the full West Championship. Andres Perez de Lara, top 5, first time for that Rev Racing team. Kyle Keller in 5th. Connor Jones had an interesting night in 7th. Leland Honeyman in 8th. Good run for the Young's Motorsports team. Trevor Huddleston, they bought all the Sunrise Equipment team, the team that, of course, the championship that was won by Jake Drew. Of course, he acquired all those assets from the Sunrise Ford team. Of course, they retired after the end of the year. And then another top 10 for Greg Van Alst. Good run there, and it'll be interesting to see what this series comes to. It'll be a long break before Talladega. But I'm sure we're gonna have plenty to do here on Grid Network.
Well, on a more serious note, as we close out the ARCA segment here, we do want to mention Fast Track Racing's DL Wilson was injured in a crash late in the race. Wilson was transported to a local medical center after suffering injuries to his sternum, a concussion, and 3 broken ribs. Now, Fast Track Racing announced in a statement that they do expect Wilson to make a full recovery and be back behind the wheel soon. But this continues a concerning trend of injuries sustained in ARCA over the last couple of seasons. Casey, I'm just thinking back to, Talladega, which is the track we'll be going to next. We had Derek Lancaster and Scott Melton get hurt there the last couple of years, and Tim Richmond had an injury in these cars as well.
Yeah.
And now DL Wilson. So, obviously everybody's been talking about the Cup Series and the next-gen car, but do you think there needs to be a more serious discussion surrounding safety in ARCA given this concerning run of injuries that we've had over the last couple of seasons?
Well, let me say this, and I had this discussion with the series today. There's nothing that ARCA prioritizes more than safety. And we saw that last year at Springfield, with the Bryce Hageberg crash. But yeah, it's something that they're working on. I know that these cars are safe. It's actually, I'm not sure if this is DL. He left the hospital this evening, is heading back home to Texas. He's on the mend and asked to say a very big thank you to all the race fans and fellow racers. The kind words and prayers meant a lot to all of the Fast Track family. That is from Andy Hillenberg last night on Twitter. So, obviously he'll be on the mend for a little bit, but we hope he's back at the track as soon as possible. But obviously, don't want to rush anything, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly, everybody at Grid Network wishes DL the best, and the entire Fast Track Racing family. We never want to see injuries like that, whether it's in ARCA or any form of motor racing. So certainly wishing him all the best in a speedy recovery so that we can see him at the track again soon. Well, let's move on now to the Xfinity Series and pull up those results for you. Nice little segue here. We were talking about William Sawalich and what he's doing in the 18, the last driver to run that 18 who won the ARCA East Championship the last 2 years. Sammy Smith got his first Xfinity win, passing the series all-time winningest driver Kyle Busch for the lead on lap 149, and Smith never looked back, holding off his Joe Gibbs Racing teammate Ryan Truex to take the victory. So we'll bring Brandon Crossland back in here now. Brandon, I'll start with you. When we look at Sammy Smith and how impressive he's been in his young career so far in the Xfinity Series, can he do what Ty Gibbs did last year, the other former driver of that 18 ARCA car, and become an immediate title contender in his first full Xfinity season?
Ben, I'm going to have to pull Larry Mack here and say pump the brakes a little bit. This time last year, you and I were just foaming at the mouth of seeing what Ty Gibbs was capable of and just being blown away week after week of all his early success. But here comes Sammy Smith, rookie, also in the Gibbs equipment. It's cool to me that he's the sole, the highest. He's the highest driver that is in charge of the 18 and its legacy, since it's not in the Cup Series anymore. So that's something I'm thinking about this year as well. Sammy Smith is the 18 at the highest level possible, right now. But anyway, Sammy Smith, I've been watching him for a while. He's still a young guy, but he's not showing. After this win, that's great. He battled Kyle Busch to do it, and also Ryan Truex, which we'll talk about later. But so far, I have to say it's early. He's not showing us quite enough yet. Now, that could change as the weeks go on, but not enough yet to say that he's that Ty Gibbs caliber that we saw last year. But do I think he's capable of it? Absolutely. He's got the equipment to do it, and I think he's got the skills to do it behind the wheel too.
Oh, Casey, you want to take that?
No. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Why not? I'll take that. I was sorry. I just got an email from the big boss. So yeah, I think I'm going to say Sammy Smith wins a few races this year. I think I said this on a few shows a week ago. Ben, did you ask me about the big three about last week? That's Nemechek, Allgaier, and was the other one? Oh man,
Austin Hill.
Yeah. And I said that no, we haven't seen a lot of. We still need more winners. Sammy Smith is one of them. He's going to win. Junior Motorsports is going to figure out whatever's going on with them. They're going to figure out what their issues are, and I think that might be something we have to talk about too. They just can't seem to get away from each other. But yeah, I do think Sammy Smith will be a title contender. I think he's going to have his ups and downs, just like remember when we all thought that Ty Gibbs was, it's our 3 wins out of the gate, and then he didn't do a lot of winning, and then Road America came, and then he won. Then he won at Michigan. Then he didn't do a lot of winning for a while, and then he won at Martinsville, and then he took the title at Phoenix. So, and remember, Joe Gibbs Racing has won the last 2 Xfinity Series championships, and I think they're going to do it again.
Well, the year before last was one at the line, but yes, technically yes.
Well, that goes back to the discussion at the start of the show, right? The crazy overtime restarts in Phoenix.
And also it's where we decide our championships. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Well, just pulling up Sammy Smith's results here. He was 19th at Daytona, 19th in California, 17th in Las Vegas. So, certainly lackluster compared to what a Joe Gibbs Xfinity car might be expected to do. But, like you mentioned, Brandon, he's still very young, and, he's got a lot of time to grow and develop. Not everybody can just pull a Ty Gibbs and jump in and literally win their first Xfinity race, and then the next year when they go full-time, march their way to a championship. So, would I put it past Sammy Smith? No, especially given, Casey referenced it as well, the way Daniel Hemrick won his championship, winning only the last race, and, getting the Final Four. It's really all you need to do. And then you just have one race to go out and perform, and, that's the championship right there. So I absolutely would not put it past Sammy Smith to win again when we come back here in the fall. And if he does that and he's in the Final Four, he'd be the champion. But in terms of what I put him in my championship for, probably not today. But if he keeps racking up these top 5s and gets a couple more wins and maybe gets some stage wins so that he can get some playoff points and have a little bit of insurance as we head through the playoffs, then yeah, I would certainly be open to putting him in that conversation, if not making him one of my Final Four picks outright. So it's still a long season, obviously, but he's gotten the most important business out of the way. He's won a race, and we'll see him be competing for a championship, at least at the start of the playoffs. Whether or not he can go all the way to the championship 4, I think the jury's still out on that one. We'll have to see how he performs over the course of the entire season first.
Remember, if you win, you're in.
Exactly.
Yeah, just give it to Nashville. We'll have a verdict then.
Yeah.
And of course, and I don't think it would be an issue for a driver like Sammy Smith, but the top 20 rule no longer in effect. So we can expect, if we get an upset winner on a super speedway or a road course or, rain shortened, whatever the case may be, I suppose unless we get 13 winners before the Xfinity playoffs, which I think is very unlikely. We might get a Kyle Busch win somewhere or an AJ Allmendinger win on a road course, but obviously those drivers competing in Cup, it's a good thing our friend Josh isn't here after the performance that he gave us last week to talk about that.
It's almost a guarantee.
Yeah, and those, of course, there'll be different individual winners that count in the record books, but they won't count towards the playoff seeding, obviously. So I think that's highly unlikely. But then again, stranger things have happened in the sport before. So
yeah, if a Cup, and by the way, there's only one Cup driver in the field this weekend for Xfinity, and that's Justin Haley. So
yeah, and not surprised that Haley was chosen given how well he's run on super speedways, and now Atlanta is essentially a mini super speedway.
Atlanta Super Speedway. That's what it's.
Well, let's stick with the Gibbs team here and ask one more question regarding that team and their Xfinity program. Ryan Truex, the younger brother of Martin Truex Jr., he's bounced around quite a bit in recent years. He most recently ran full-time with Nice Motorsports in the Truck Series in 21, has been back in the Joe Gibbs Toyota family the last couple of seasons now running part-time in Xfinity. He's had some strong runs here and there. Casey, I guess I'll start with you on this one. Ryan Truex finished second yesterday, another strong run for him in these limited opportunities he's getting. Is he deserving of another full-time opportunity in one of NASCAR's top 3 series?
Yeah, I mean, he is well deserving. I know that. Remember the last time we saw Ryan Truex run full time, it was with the truck at Nice Motorsports, and I just think obviously at that time there were a lot of things going on. Remember, I think Nice was like, oh Lord, they were 3 full-time. There were 4 full-time trucks at that time, and it's not when there were a lot of things that were going on. And still, we were still kind of in the COVID pandemic a little bit in the start of the season. So obviously it's just like, it was just tough for him to get off the ground. And now he feels like, I think he feels at home with Joe Gibbs Racing and, getting this opportunity, like a lot of drivers like Mike Snyder and Joe Graff Jr. and all the guys that you'll see in that car. That 19 has really performed well. And of course he's in the field this week at Atlanta. So we'll have to see how this thing goes. What do you think, Brandon?
Yeah, it kind of feels like the Trevor Baynes story last year. I hope Ryan gets plenty of more starts. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't he starting next week as well?
Yes.
I think I heard that news, yeah. So he'll be in Atlanta too. That's another great opportunity for him to try to pick up a victory. Really close at Phoenix, and that was a great drive for Ryan. I'd say give him another shot if he keeps proving that he can be consistent up front. He seems like a true racer, just like his brother, and really does drive like his brother too, it seems, here and there.
So I was surprised when I went to check Ryan's stats in his bio page this week. I guess he turns 31 this upcoming week here. I didn't realize, because Martin Truex Jr. is in his early 40s, I didn't realize there was that much of an age gap. And it feels like Ryan's been around for a long time. He was a 2-time K&N East at the time champion. I guess it would have actually been Camping World East the first year he won it in 2009. So he's been around for a while. And, it's kind of, fun to see it come back full circle for him to be part of a Toyota family again here. But, he still certainly could have, several years left in his racing career if he gets an opportunity. I know he's never won a national series race, but he has come close several times. He's got a few second place finishes in trucks and Xfinity to show for it as well. So, I would certainly be for giving him, a full-time opportunity, maybe not in the Cup Series, but certainly, there's got to be an Xfinity program or a truck program out there that could use a driver like him, who I think is very solid and, is just kind of looking for that next big break and opportunity to show what he can do. I think Ryan Truex certainly fits that description very well.
Okay. Hey, pull up the grid for a sec. The results from, yep.
Sure.
Okay, now it's time for, as I always like to do, I like to give my shout out. So let's see. Ryan Truex in second. Yeah. How about Riley Herbst? He's having a good start to the season in fourth. John Hunter Nemechek finishes sixth. A good run for Chandler Smith. I know he and Kyle Busch kind of got into it at the end. Obviously, that was, I don't think we'll see Kyle for a little bit until I'm not sure when he's running again. Daniel Hemrick finishes in the top 10. Good run for Josh Berry. The junior motorsports cars, once again. I know the Justin Allgaier did not really get a chance to finish that race, but we'll see how that goes. Also, how about Anthony Alfredo, 14th? There's only one BJ McLeod car this season. Obviously, with the I have confirmed that the 99 has shut down. So that's why you saw Garrett Smithley in the 91. By the way, Chad Chastain will be making his Xfinity Series debut this coming weekend at Atlanta. So, yep, there's the back half of the grid. Brandon Jones running in 23rd. Connor Mozak, his Xfinity debut was 24th. Yeah, and of course, also, I want to shout out Kyle Weatherman. Another great run for that Our Motorsports team, or whatever that team is now, finishing 17th on the day. And then another good solid run for Ryan Ellis, another top 20 run. Obviously, if you saw Ryan's post-race thoughts on Twitter, I know he wasn't satisfied with it, but overall, top 20 is a good day for Alpha Prime Racing. So good stuff there. Anyone that you're concerned about in the Xfinity Series in these first four races?
You talking to me or Brandon or both of us?
Yeah, whoever.
Well, obviously Junior Motorsports, I guess Brandon Jones most specifically, but I know Justin Allgaier got caught up in a wreck there, and that kind of ruined his day. But he's had strong runs, so speed is certainly there. And Junior Motorsports, an organization like that, it's inevitable at some point, at least one or two of their cars are going to, start firing on all cylinders and rack off some wins at some point of the year. So I'm not too concerned about how this will affect them in the long term. And, obviously when you're in the postseason, that's all that's going to matter there. So as long as they can figure that out over the next several months, then I don't think there's, cause to hit the panic button yet. But it has been surprising to see their relative struggles based on what we know they're capable of as the season started here. Brandon, I don't know if there's anybody else that stands out to you, though.
Yeah, I'm kind of concerned about Josh Berry. I know drivers are used to doing double duty and things like that. And I know Jordan Taylor's helping out the 9 camp on the road courses. But I don't know how used to Josh Berry is of doing this heavy amount of, Xfinity Cup. So I don't think that's plaguing him yet, but I hope that's not a concern for Junior Motorsports or Josh Berry going forward, especially until Chase gets back.
Yeah, well, I know he did the 2 starts with Spire in 2021, and I know he was part-time in Xfinity that year, so I can't recall off the top of my head if he would have pulled double duty one of those weekends. I feel like one of his starts was Dover, so maybe, that would have been one of those race weekends. But again, I know he had, most of his races were in the first half of the year, and then I think Michael Annett was hurt, so he filled in and even got another win in that number 1 car. But it's certainly he's never had a situation like this where, obviously the Spire car was just like a 1 or 2 race deal to gain experience at the Cup level
Right.
and take a ride like that. Whereas, this, you're filling in for a Cup Series champion and arguably the best team in the Cup Series. Certainly, I think to start the season, Kyle Larson could have easily won each of the last 2 races. William Byron did end up winning, the last 2 races here. So Hendrick is certainly, a top team that's capable of winning any given Sunday. I don't know if we put those expectations on Josh Berry to win any given Sunday, because obviously it's a very difficult situation filling in like this for Chase Elliott. But, there's certainly a lot more added pressure and certainly a lot more attention that comes with what he's doing now versus, just running a race here or there with Spire a couple of years ago.
Well, shout out to his top 10, though. I think I really am enjoying his progression so far, and also just his grassroots story. It's still one of my favorite stories right now.
Yeah. Well, on that note, that was my one shining moment yesterday. I have a different one shining moment today, but first I'll pass it over to you, Brandon. What's your one shining moment as we look at the ARCA and Xfinity races this past weekend?
Yeah, staying in the Xfinity Series, I got to stick with Ryan Truex here. That was just a really feel-good story for the weekend, and hopefully he can continue the success next week into Atlanta. And whatever we get from there, maybe some new opportunities will show up for him in that 19 car if nothing's scheduled out all the way, or maybe somewhere else in the Toyota camp. We'll see. But Ryan Truex definitely deserves that one shining moment this weekend.
Okay, my one shining moment goes to Tyler Reif. I mean, 15 years old, winning your first ARCA race. It doesn't matter how these races go. I mean, at the end of the day, you're the one that's taking the checkered flag home. And what a start to his the ARCA West season. I think he's a threat to the championship. So it'll be interesting to see, as I said earlier, to see what he can do with him and Tanner and Sean, as well as and Bradley Erickson's going to be a contender as well, along with Trevor Huddleston. So a pretty good battle that we have for the West Championship. Ben, who's your one shining moment?
Well, I was going to make it Tyler Reif as well. I guess we can double up here with you, Casey. And just to clarify, Joe, the graphics that he put together for us here on tonight's show, this is his ARCA stats. Of course, it was a combination race with the ARCA Menards Series West, so it kind of counts both ways there towards his championship pursuit in the West Series as well there. But he's got 2 West starts to show for last season. Just so that I can use the other graphic that Joe made for us tonight that I forgot about and forgot to show as we were talking about him, I'm going to give a one shining moment as well.
There he is.
To Sammy Smith. And we've got a nice little graphic for our Xfinity winner this weekend as well. And you can see a 2-time champion of the ARCA Menards Series East. So good to see a graduate of that program having some success early on. And as we discussed tonight, I don't know if we can pencil him into the championship board just yet, but certainly we can't put that past him either. He's a tremendous young talent, and I think could very well be following in the footsteps of the guy that was in that ARCA car before him that also won a championship down at the ARCA level. Of course, talking about Ty Gibbs, who's now in the Cup Series. I think we might see Sammy Smith racing on Sundays eventually later on in his career as well. So I'll give a one shining moment to both of our winners this weekend. Congratulations again to Tyler Reif and to Sammy Smith. And that is going to do it for another episode of Grid Live Encore. A little bit on the shorter side today, but we didn't have as much racing to talk about. We'll tell you about the racing we'll be talking about next week here in just a moment. But first, be sure you're following us on all our social media platforms: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, LinkedIn, most importantly, right here on YouTube. Help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers before the Indianapolis 500 later this May. Now, if you really like what you saw tonight, you can take 5 minutes after the show to invest in our Patreon. Join Colin, Deshelle, Mark, Robin, and our newest supporter, David, in helping keep us on the air throughout 2023 and beyond. Our long-term goal of $500 per month will allow us to begin attending races on site on a more regular basis, expanding our coverage for our viewers. Special thank you again to those who have chosen to be so kind with their hard-earned cash and help send a little bit of that our way to help us continue to build this outlet. If you'd rather make a one-time donation, you can choose to buy me a coffee option. Link to that is also in the description box below. You can buy a coffee for your favorite on-air talent. Any amount will help us continue to grow our motorsports media outlet. Now on Wednesday, Kobe Lambeth will bring you Grid Tonight with Josh Birch and Matt White. Joe Samniego will be back on the Women in Motorsports program on Friday with both myself and Daniel Zeri. And as always, you can stay tuned for more Grid Live coverage throughout the week. Pre-race wrap-up and encore to follow. NASCAR's in Atlanta with both trucks and Xfinity. F2 will return in Saudi Arabia as well. Now, Brandon Casely, usually I ask for final thoughts, but I understand we might have some breaking news to share. What is that?
Okay, so actually this was just reported. The shout out to the Toby Christie team for reporting this, but Bailey Curry is out at JD Motorsports this weekend at Atlanta. Garrett Smithley will be in the 4-car for JD Motorsports, and this is effective immediately. I'm going to be working on this evening to see what more on this. So as they reported, it will depart the 2-car organization effective immediately. A crew member from the organization tells TobyChristie.com. Garrett Smithley, who previously drove for JD Motorsports on a full-time basis, remember the number nothing car, will take over driving of the 4-car for 14 of the remaining 29 NASCAR Xfinity Series events in 2023, starting on Saturday at Atlanta. So, yeah, some pretty big news there. I'll keep you updated on that on my Twitter page as well, and we'll keep you updated here on Grid Network.
So just to confirm, Bailey Curry is out, Garrett Smithley is in. Is that correct?
Yep. That is what's been reported, and after I get off the show, I'm gonna go see if I can confirm that.
Yeah, it's March, and we're already talking silly season stuff. Look at that, silly season, mid-season. How do you like that, Brandon? Any final thoughts before we sign off?
After that news, all we need now is Flex Seal to sign back up, and we'll have the Garrett Smithley Flex Seal Phil Swift combo.
One more comment real quick from our own Kobe Lambeth. JD Motorsports has really struggled since the Ross Chastain days. I can certainly agree with that. That's the reputation that Ross has had his entire career. He gets every ounce he can out of his equipment, and that was certainly true when he was driving for JD. So we'll see if this change can, help turn that team around, or, obviously Casey will keep us updated. This is fresh breaking news, as we're coming to the end of the show here, just trying to react to it in real time. But sometimes that happens on this show. It's a live show, so you never know what you're going to get. Well, on that note, for Brandon Crossland and Casey Campbell, I'm Ben Schneider. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to tune in next week. Enjoy the rest of your week. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you for watching us right here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos, including Life on the Grid, where we interview folks from the motorsports industry. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.